Hey, folks. A very pleasant Saturday morning to you, or Friday evening, wherever you are watching us from, and welcome. Usually, you see me talking about tech a lot, and usually looking for some ways to stir up something between React Native and Flutter, which is one of the reasons why we do those things differently now. But today is a different day. And today I would like to welcome you all to something new, something exciting, to the very first edition of this new type of meetup that we are trying to do to bring a new set of people together. Welcome to the first design remote meetup, powered by Geeky Ants, obviously. And I am, as usual, your host, Digvijay Wanchoo. Today we are talking about design. Design is usually something that's always been left to the experts, but it has recently become the new talk of the town. Design is everywhere. User experiences, user interfaces, there's everywhere. Even God has his own designs, but I'll probably leave this philosophy for another time. But to understand what we are doing here today and what to expect out of this meetup and this time that we are going to be spending today, with us, with you, obviously our viewers watching us live on YouTube now, welcome. Thank you so much for joining in. uh, Let me take this moment to introduce somebody on the stage that I'm really excited to meet. And I've been sharing this stage again with him after a very long time. To tell you guys what we are doing here today, let me take this pleasure in introducing Sanket Sahu, who is a software engineer and the CEO of Geeky Ants. And is he here? Is Sanket here?
Hey everyone.
Sanket is
Hey,
here. Hi, Sanket.
good to be back, Digvijay. Hosting it with you. We're doing it
Yes,
after a long time.
a long time, but it's always good to be back. I mean, it was a very long time since we shared the stage together, and today is another historic day when we get to do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, obviously the man, the myth, the legend, Sanket Sahu.
That's a little too much, Digvijay. But
Well, you know how I do things, so yeah, it's okay. Just take it. Just take it.
Great.
Anyway, so
So,
Sanket,
yeah.
would you like to take this moment to tell everybody what to expect out of today and why exactly are we doing this?
Yep, for sure. I wish this was in person because this was like different. Like when I'm sharing stage with you, Digvijay, that reminds me of like everything of like pre-pandemic days.
I
But
know
yeah,
that we used to do it physically together. Oh,
yes.
those were the days. Those were days. But we always hope we'll come back.
I think it's the
We'll get
last
to do
week,
that again.
so probably in the next couple of months we'll be back on that stage.
Hopefully, I'll probably come running. I know that for sure. Anyway,
Mm.
well,
All
I'll
right.
leave you with our viewers. Take it away, Sanket.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Digvijay. All right. I am super happy and excited to be hosting our first design meetup, uh, organized by Geeky Ants. Though there have been meetups going on, but we want to like bring everyone to a central place and talk more about in and around about design. So yeah, as Digvijay already introduced me, I am Sanket. I have this love for design and code. It's really hard to bucket myself as a developer or a designer, so I keep switching between those two, and I thought like this would be a good opportunity to talk about like what exactly are we doing, or why exactly are we doing this design meetup. So if you know our previous meetup, so we have been talking about uh, code, we have been talking about like super technical stuff, uh, but essentially we have missed a very important point. We have not talked a lot about it, is design. uh, because when you think about any particular say idea, and you want to say feel that in an app or something, the first thing that you think about is the design, how it looks and feel to the end users. You don't straight away think about say okay, React Native or Flutter, but instead you think about, okay, this is how my app is going to look like, this is going to be my branding colors, and probably we'll have a button here, and this is the placement, this sort of typography is what reflects uh, something about the app or the idea that you're trying to build. So we are going back from code to design, and that's why we have this design focused meetup. And a little bit about Geeky Ants. So we are a community first company, a community led company. We have our roots in open source and talking to people in and around, and one of which is definitely the open source project native base that we have done. And in fact, if we talk about native base, that also lies on the intersection of design and code. It's uh, it's it started as a UI component library for React Native, but slowly we took it back to the design, and now it's being used as a prototyping library for Figma designers. And now Figma designers can use that template and then go back to developers, and they can say, okay, they have designed these screens using the native base Figma template, for example. So the friction between design and code is slowly minimizing with all these efforts. Apart from that, Geeky Ants, we essentially are a product studio. We build web and mobile apps, but we do everything in between, in and around web and mobile apps, right from design to code. And we are pretty active in the R&D side of things in this area. Like if there is, say, for example, yesterday we were testing Oculus VR and how we can build like VR apps for all these new platforms like metaverse and all those things. So we are pretty active in whatever new comes into the market, and we want to try it out and then see if that solves a problem. If that does, then we take it back to like other people, clients, brands, and then say, okay, probably you can solve this problem by using this piece of technology. uh, I think that reminds me a very good thing about a very good quote from Steve Jobs, that you can't start with a technology and then think about the solutions. Instead of, you can, uh, in fact, it was like when you come up with a technology, you can go back to the problems that this technology would solve. And essentially, we believe like anything that comes new in the market, right from, say, for example, React Native, or maybe a design tool called, say like Figma. We have a history of switching from Adobe XD, or even before that, Photoshop to Adobe XD, and then we have tools like Figma and all these new prototyping tools that's coming up. We are constantly trying it out, and we try to see if that saves us any form of utility. Maybe it's time utility or form utility, that may end up in essentially building our product in a better way or in a faster way. Great. And yeah, so w- this is about like why we want to do this. And if you look at Geeky Ants, the design team specifically, they have been very active in doing a lot of things on the creative side. So design is a mega term, and we have UI UX as a part of it, because when we talk about design, we also talk about everything creative, right from like really abstract designs to something really on the other side, something like design system, which is close to code. uh, and our design team has been like doing a lot more on the UI UX side. That's the code side, how things look on the inside the apps on the interface. We have been doing a lot on the creative side too, but since we are talking about more on the overlap of code and design, we'll be focusing on like, okay, what's on the intersection. And I think that design system would be the perfect topic that falls in this intersection. And yeah, like if we talk about design system, native base itself is a design system that we built. We are doing the same thing for multiple different big companies out there. And that's why we want to talk about it, uh, like what is a design system, how can you build one, what's the importance of that, and how can you maintain it in the long run. And yeah, this is the first ever design meetup by Geekians, and that's why we have the speakers from Geekians. But this is only the starting point. We want to take it to everyone out there and bring in more speakers and more ideas from different companies. And since we're doing it for the first time, we have speakers from here. But yeah, I would love to hear more from other folks and open up the CFP for the next meetup, and then bring in a lot more ideas, not just from here, but from everywhere in and around. Yeah, I think that sets up the ground for the meetup today. I would hand over the mic back to Digvijay. All
Here I
right.
am. Hi, Sanket.
Yes.
Thank you so much for setting the stage right and letting everybody know what they can expect out of today's event. Obviously, we have this amazing lineup of speakers slash artists who are going to be talking about their experiences, and we're going to be
I like
talking
how you
about
say it, speakers slash artists.
so it's going to be interesting to listen to them and their experiences and the things that they have done, and what other people can learn from them. I think that's the goal, and that's what we are going to be delivering today, because
Yep.
the quality
Yep.
always remains the same. That is great. With Sanket, of course, with Sanket being here, I'd like to just quickly touch upon the code of conduct of this particular meetup as well. We just follow the usual things. Of course, it's a friendly environment, so we want to be friendly. We want to promote learning, and we want to promote networking. So you guys do talk to each other, get to know your fellow viewers, interact with us. Obviously, during the talk, if you have any questions, leave those in the chat. Don't spam them, but we'll get back to you surely. And yes, I mean, hate speech, racism, nobody likes it, so we don't tolerate it either, and neither should you. So I think we are with that, we're just going to kick off the show. Sanket, I think it's about time, and
Yep.
of course, I'd love to see you again towards the end of the event, so stick around, and I'll love to get to talk to you one more time.
Yeah, for sure, Digvijay. Thank you so much. I think we have like four amazing speakers. So I think we're going to flash the agenda on the screen anyway. But
Let's do
yeah,
it.
thank you so much, Digvijay. All the best, everyone. And yeah, have a good time.
Thank you, see you. All right, ladies and gents, I think it's about time we bring out the first speaker of the day. It is my pleasure to introduce Rati Agarwal, who's going to be talking about Introduction to Design Systems. I think Rati is live with us. Hi, Rati.
Yeah, hi Digvijay. How are you
How are you
doing?
doing? I'm great. How are you doing today? How's
I'm
your
doing
Saturday?
good. It's going great so far. I'm really excited.
Wonderful. So are we. So are we. Uh, Let me take a moment to introduce you guys to Rati Agarwal. She is one person who I've come across who has the most infectious laugh energy I've come in a long time. She's one of the artists who's behind a part of the hive mind that is Geeky Ants, and she's behind some of the most amazing designs and experiences that have come out of Geeky Ants so far. Uh, the interesting thing about Rati is that she is a self-taught UI UX designer, and she's built herself up from the ground up, and she's also on a mission to help others like her grow themselves into their skills as well. And in that pursuit, she has written an amazing blog that you should go check out. I think if you check out Rati's Twitter account, you'll find it there quite easily. Uh, so yeah, that's Rati. And on that note, Rati, I'll leave you with the viewers, and why don't you take it away?
Yeah, thank you so much, Digvijay. So, hi everyone. I like to discuss about anything and everything around design. So, feel free to connect with me and chit chat like today. So, I want to talk about what is the design system today. As we often see terms like style guide, pattern library, design system, and other such terms being used interchangeably. So, to get that confusion away, let's get our definition and the structure of design system straight. Here is a definition by Therese Fessenden, Nielsen Norman Group, that a design system is a complete set of standards intended to manage design at scale using reusable components and patterns. So, in this definition, we see that here is a set of deliverables which are assembled together to help us build products, right? So, in these set of deliverables could include rules like design principles, implementation and editorial guidelines, some do's and don'ts, foundations like color schemes, typefaces, icons, components like buttons, form fields, menus, and patterns, which are combination of these components, page layouts, and so much more around these, right? So to understand that how all of these are connected to design system, we will cover the characteristics of design system. Here in Atlassian design system, which is an open design system, we can refer to like all of these on the left. It has represented its brand, the mission, personality, promise, the foundations like color, iconography, typography. It also has documented the components, patterns. So yeah, everything is very well documented in all of these design systems. So we can refer to them and understand the characteristics of design system, like how it is a common visual language. When we create design systems, we start to systemize our work, to think in components. We create assets that are easier to interpret. For example, the functionality and appearance of a drop-down menu would not be debated, since that term is reserved for a specifically defined element within the design system. Here is an example by Atlassian Design System. Here is drop-down menu, which has drop-down item. They have given its examples, codes, usage, little description, the states, types, everything for the team to find. And they can have this common shared language, a visual language, which design system helps us to get. Then scalability. To design at scale, it is very important to have a governance model, since a design system helps you manage design at scale and change your products while maintaining consistency. But how can we maintain consistency across products when each product has its own requirement? So in that case, we need governance model, which tells how we can continue to evolve our design system with the product and how others can contribute to it. To better understand this, we have an example. So suppose in an organization, the team uses a component like alert from the design system. So as for the product, there can be a case that they can reuse this component, and save themselves from reinventing the wheel and unintended inconsistency. Or they can come across an edge case that the current design system components don't cover. Well, in that case, they refer to the governance model, the rules, the guidelines it has, what they should do to contribute to the design system. As per that, it could be that they give feedback to the design system team, they try to address and resolve the issue, and then share it back to the consuming teams. Then style guide. As I mentioned, it oftenly used as a design system term interchangeably, but design system offers more than a style guide, as it defines rules and connections, providing the highest level of abstraction of a design language. It does defines characteristics such as typography, colors, icon spacing, basically the essence of your brand in a digital context, which are usually maintained as design tokens and code, but it has more to offer. For example, if we see Orbit by Kiwi.com, they have characteristics like spacing and icons, examples of use, values, size names, even the states like if it's success, warning, critical. But how Orbit is a design system, as a foundation like typography in their heading, they have given the font sizes along with the basic guidelines of headings, some do's and don'ts, right? So speaking of rules, here is another aspect to design system, that how it involves principles and guidelines which serves as a guiding light when it comes to designing and giving feedback. Design principles define the core values of products and team. So when the team aligns around these principles, it streamlines the feedback process and gives sound argumentation for design decisions. So that really helps. Here is Lightning Design System by Salesforce. They have their design principles: clarity, efficiency, consistency, beauty, the core values of Lightning Design System. And here, along with that, if we see, there are rules by Atlassian Design Systems, the do's and don'ts, which are given in most of the components. So yeah, rules and principles are very essential and the first step towards design system. Once we are set with the components and foundation, everything, we get components and then we store them in a library. Like we prepare a ready to use component library. In this library, we find elements which vary in size and complexity, as they can be single minor element like an input field, or multiple grouped elements like a navigation bar or a form. Here is Atlassian Design System's single element like avatar. We see examples, code usage, anatomy, best practices, so much around avatar, all out there for the team to use, for all the consuming teams. And a grouped element like form, where they have defined when to use it and how they can customize the fields with components such as text fields, range fields, checkbox field, and so on. So yeah, I think by now we understand that how these terms are connected, but definitely not the same. So I hope I'm successful in it. Thank you.
Hello again, Rati.
Hello.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I think it was one of the probably the best introduction that you could have given to design systems and to help people understand what exactly it is before they decide to jump into it and explore the nuances of it, which is also something that we will be talking about later in the day today.
Yeah,
But
totally.
for the time being, Rati, during your presentation, we had a couple of questions from our
Sure.
viewers. So Varsha wanted to know, uh, when you design a dashboard, say as an app, what is the perspective or what is the process that you follow when you do that?
So every before starting any design, we need to understand the process. So first step could be how we define that what leads us to getting to design a dashboard, right? The user personas that's required. What is the target audience you are designing the dashboard for? And then you ideate. It leads to wireframing process where you go from low fidelity to high fidelity, and then you prototype, you test on the users, and then you go back to the same cycle, right? So yeah, the process is involved before any design, be it a dashboard.
Mm-hmm. Well, Varsha, I hope that answers the question for you. Shubhendu right now just asked, since he's a newbie, are there any resources online that he can follow in order to understand design systems better?
As you mentioned, I have a blog there out there on Geeky Ants. You can go there, and I have tried my best to help anyone who is a newbie who is starting, as and can learn from my journey as much as they would want.
All right. I guess that also answers your question. Well, it at least directs you in the right direction, Shubhendu, to go and read Rati's blog. Obviously, it's one of the most amazing blogs I've read in a long time. But anyway, thank you so much. Thank you, Rati,
Thank you.
for speaking to our viewers and taking out this time to help them understand what design systems are. And of
My
course, I would
pleasure.
love to see you towards the end of the event again. So
Yeah.
see you then.
See you.
Thank you. All right, folks. So that was Rati, and she gave a short, sweet, and crisp introduction to what design systems are. Let's move on to the next speaker on the cards today, uh, Megha, who is going to be talking about the importance of design systems. So, since you've had an introduction, now let's talk about the importance of it. And I would love to have Megha on screen with me. Hi, Megha.
Hi Digvijay, how are you?
I am great. Very good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Good, good, doing great.
Wonderful. It's so wonderful to have you here live with us. Uh, Megha is, I mean, in the least, I can say the pioneer of design at Geeky Ants. She's the head of designs here, and she is the one who started this entire snowball of these amazing, amazing ideas and thoughts that come out of Geeky Ants as a whole. Uh, she found her passion in design quite early, and ever since then, she has been learning so many new things, and of course, has been a mentor to a lot of new budding designers that she has come in touch with, and has always continued to help them develop their skills and develop their mindsets in order to become excellent designers, which is absolutely wonderful. Megha, thank you for that. And with that, I think I'll just leave you with our viewers and let them know.
Sure. Thank you, Digvijay. That was like too much. Okay, hi everyone. Hi. As Rati gave the presentation about what the design system is, I think I'll be taking the importance of design system. So here we go. Hmm. During my talk, I'll be actually going through with the overview.
Megha, I'm so sorry to interrupt
Why,
you. I
like,
see a
why should we
black
have?
screen.
Yeah, sorry. See a black screen. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. To,
Could you just very quickly check that?
sure, sure. I might stop presenting first.
Just a tiny technical glitch, which will be fixed in no time. Make sure of that.
Sorry, guys.
Yes, I think it's
Is this
working.
fine now?
Yes, it is. Right, Megha, please continue.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. Sorry for this interruption. Okay, so I'll be actually going through with the overview. Why should we have a design system? When should we have one? And its implementation, right? So I am Megha, and I'm a design lead, as Digvijay has already, introduced me. I'm a design lead at Geeky Ants. As a designer, I love making things easy to use, or say, providing a solution to complex problems. If you want to reach me out, you can connect me on Twitter and Instagram. Fine, so let's start. I hope it is very clear to everyone like what the design system is. It is more than style guidelines or say component library. As a whole, we can consider it an inventory that is going to help us throughout the product development life cycle. And it also evolves with the product. So design system itself can be considered as a product which supports the products. Right? Now the question comes in is why it is important. Why should we have a design system for a product? Imagine a team working on a product, a small team, where we have one UI UX designer, one graphic designer, one front end engineer, one back end engineer, a DevOps. Okay, they're working on a product together. Designer shares the file with developer, with front-end developer. Developer, once he's done, he can share it to the backend guy, and the things moves pretty faster. Communication is very easy, but the team size grows, right? It's a natural thing to grow. We scale, we add more people to the team, right? So, and in one side, our product grows. It requires more screens. It requires new features. On other hand, our team size grows. Say for a product, we might be requiring one website team, one core product team, one back office management team, a support team, or so on. Right? So now multiple teams are working on a single brand. Okay, we start facing these challenges like scaling. We need to have a system which is scalable. We need to have a system where we can maintain the consistency while scaling. We need to make sure that the team is working efficiently and the collaboration between the team is being in place. Okay, so do you think the previous model works? No, right? We need some better solution, right? We need to overcome with the communication glitches. So I think design system is what we can get help from. Design system actually sets up everything for us. Say it provides us the guidelines to follow. It provides us the components which we can use not just one place at multiple places, avoid rework, right? A document to set up the guidelines and all the resources, whatever is being used in here and there, that is one centralized solution. Design system is not just a like one-time investment, right? We keep getting, as I said, it evolves with the product. So we get input from different teams as well. And once it is like we got something new, we have to get back to our inventory where we can push the changes and we create that resource pool to use it in wherever it is required. Now the next question comes when it is important, right? As I said, like by seeing its advantages, it looks like it is needed at very beginning of the product, right? Because it helps in multiple ways. So having it at the very beginning should be a good start, right? But we also think like, is it worth to have a full-fledged system, or worth to invest a lot of time to set up a full-fledged design system at the beginning where our product is not yet out to the market, right? Like we see in generally we see like these type of product, right? It is in MVP, is it in startup, mid-size company, enterprise level. Okay, so when a product is it its MVP version where it is yet to be tested out to the market, maybe a full-fledged design system is not needed. We can, start with just some existing design system, foundation of design system, I would say, like having bootstrap material design or native base. So we can just use them and start building the things faster. But when we are coming to the startup, say less than 20 people company, where we have something ready and we need the keep going things. So having a design system is important here. But I would say like design system here, we can have just style guide setup and a components, say component based approach to build the things, right? When we are in mid-size company, along with the style guidelines, component and libraries are very important because we are growing, we need to have the communication. But when we are in the enterprise level, the design system looks must. We need to set up a better communication panel where uh, throughout the organization we can speak one centralized language. So these are kind of overview, like when can we introduce one, but let's go ahead with like how to implement. So when we are in a very first stage, say we are starting building a design system, probably we can go ahead with this. Like we ideate the things, we set up the style guidelines, the color, the typography, the grid system, everything, right? We define the principle, the objective, brand values, and all. And then we also set up the standard practices where we have to give the we build the training modules so that the communication flows well. And based on all these, we create components. Okay, components along with the documents. Documents could be fundamental document, technical documents, and all. But say if you are in middle of a product where we feel like now this is the time to have a design system, then probably we can have this structure, like set up your project. You can use Docsify, Storybook, or simple go with Notion. Okay, start collecting the existing stuff like logo variations, style guide, whatever designer used to have it. Then some design resource files and everything, whatever is existing, start collecting it, organize it, organize in the terms of like identify the repetitive component and make a group of that. And we also set the standard practices because that is what give us the the foundation layer of fixing the things, like having collect the code snippet if required. We need to recreate them, we should recreate as well. Then define some kind of rules like do's and don'ts, how to use, add some example so that people are following the guidelines properly. There are few things available in the market, we can just go ahead with the with other companies, like there are design system out in the market which we can take as a reference, as a guidelines, and we can build our own, right? Native base is also one of them. So it's easy to start with that. Yeah, I think that is pretty much about the importance and how can we build one. So that's it. Thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you so much, Megha. That was wonderful. I think it was since we started with what design systems are, it was equally important to understand why they're important, and I think we have let everybody know why they need to think about design systems going forward whenever people are working on designs. And I think it was just wonderfully done. So thank you so much for talking to our viewers today. Uh, while your presentation was going on, we had one question from Saurabh, which I'd like to ask you. Saurabh wants to know if we can design new system libraries on top of existing CSS frameworks. Is that possible to do?
Yeah. Yes, we can. Actually, whenever we start with one CSS file. I believe like you are using some Bootstrap or any CSS library, right? So we actually set up the style guidelines there itself, right? We already
Mhm.
follow some kind of component system. So that is what we already have set up. Now, on top of that, what we need to define more is like what are the brand guidelines. We can just write it down. We can align our style guidelines with that and set it
Mhm.
up in your CSS file.
Mhm.
And components, I believe you are already using as you are using one any open source component system.
Right.
I hope I answered it well.
Yeah, well,
If
I
not,
hope
please go ahead.
Saurabh got the answer to his question as well. And Anirudh also wants to know, do is it possible to follow design systems in other verticals like manufacturing, production, finance, operations, or is it just meant for technology, or is it just restricted to digital design?
No, it's not for digital design, definitely. It's for product building. Your product would be anything, right? In manufacturing or any other company, we have some guidelines to follow.
Hmm.
It's not like that we have to just define the code patterns only. We have some guidelines to follow. Brand value used to have its own set of guidelines that throughout the organization should float. So we need to have a centralized place where we can define all those things, and if we need to make sure that we are not deviating from there. So yes, it's for everywhere.
Hmm. All right, Anirudh, I hope that answers your question. And Megha, that's all the questions we have from our viewers right now. So we'll probably just move on with the show, obviously. But I would love to see and chat with you again towards the end of the event. So please stick around and I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, sure. I'll be here only.
Thank you so much, Megha.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Digvijay. Thank you.
All right, folks. So we are halfway through. That was Megha, and she talked about why design systems are important. Now, obviously, we are going to move on to understand the other aspects of a design system. But before that, a quick reminder to tweet about the event. Let your fellow designers and fellow friends know what we are doing here since it's our very first meetup. It'll be great to have a little bit of branding, I suppose, from you guys, if I have to put it plainly. But yeah, just let everybody know what we're doing here. Bring everybody who wants to be a part of this beautiful community together here, and we would love to have discussions with them and to chat with them. Remember to tag us at the rate Geeky Ants whenever you do that, and we make sure we populate the feed and make sure it reaches all the right people. Anywho, moving on with the show, of course. Next up, since we have spoken about what design systems are and what is the importance of design systems, let's talk about one of the methodologies through which you can apply design systems or design them, pun intended. And for that, I would love to introduce to you guys Probin Johori, who's going to be talking about building design systems with atomic methodology. And Probin is here with us. Hi, Probin. Very good afternoon. How are you doing today? How's your Saturday been so far? Yeah. Huh? Yeah. I mean, we all were. How are you liking it so far? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, everything that I can see from the chats, obviously people are, getting through, and whatever we are trying to convey to them, it's getting through. So that's wonderful. That's brilliant. Obviously, um, less is more is the principle that defines Probin as a designer. Obviously, alongside being the harbinger of minimalism, if I'd say so myself, he's also somebody who likes to dip his hands into architectural and industrial design. He's also a dog dad, and he's also raising plants. I don't know if you're trying to create a mini forest in your house, but I'm guessing that it's just to get the best of both worlds. So good luck on that. And with that, of course, let me Probin leave you with our viewers. And why don't you take it away? Yeah, I think we can hear you pretty fine now. So, I mean, I guess just being a little loud would help. Yeah, go ahead. Uh, Robin, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We are still getting a lot of viewers saying that you're not audible at all. But it's weird because I can hear you. I hope everybody else can hear you as well. So there's no audio on YouTube. Uh, as a quick test, can you guys share in the chat if you can hear me speaking on YouTube? Just need a quick confirmation from you, from the viewers on YouTube. Am I audible to you on YouTube? Right. So they can hear me. Probin, would you mind just probably joining in quickly again? Maybe that will help. Yeah. Sorry, folks. Bear with us here. A little bit of a technical disruption again. I'm not sure why you guys could not hear Probin, because here at backstage we are able to hear him quite well. Um, well, Probin is back. Let's see if it works this time. Hello again, Probin.
Hey, is it better now?
Well, viewers, let us know. Can you hear Probin now?
Can you hear me?
Someone there to say
Hey,
yes.
hi.
We're just waiting for somebody to say yes.
Yeah,
All right,
I think so.
you're back
Yeah.
online. Yeah, people can hear you now. Perfect. So maybe, Probin, you can share the presentation again and we can take this from the top.
Yeah, sure. I'm doing that.
All right, I'll leave you to it.
All right. I hope you can see my screen as well. So I'll start off with this very good design principle that I follow personally. And I've been having a background in architecture. I follow this in my current field as well. And this applies to any design field if you want to take it that way. And it's stated by one of the most famous architect from the 20th century. He is also known as the father of skyscraper and modernism. He states that form follow function.
And I guess Probin is having some sort of internet issues now. Um, this is unfortunate, uh, but we can just wait for maybe a couple of seconds for him to join back. I'm not sure what's going on at his end. Um, right. Anyway, so of course, when Probin is done, we have one more speaker for you, who is going to be continuing this discussion into design systems and telling you how to maintain those. But we'll get to that in a short while. Meanwhile, of course, I do hope that all of you viewers on YouTube are able to gauge a lot of new things about design systems, probably for people who know about it already or people who are new to this. maybe I hope that our speakers have been able to help you understand what design systems are. And of course, design systems is just one part of the entire vertical, that is design and user experience. So, oh wait, Probin is back. Let's hear from him again. Internet issues, Probin?
Was it?
Yes, you
Fine now.
got disconnected, and I think we moved quite far ahead with the presentation. So you were just stuck, and we were not able to hear you at all.
All right.
But
I'll.
yeah, let's quickly take this from the top then. Let's
All
hope
right.
it works this time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. To start with, I have this very good design principle that I follow personally, and it's quoted by one of the famous architects from the 20th century. And I, being personally from architect background, I follow this in my current design field as well. And then it states that form follow function. If you have to break that down and understand what it actually means, it states that the shape of a building or an object or a product itself that we design should primarily relate to its intended function or purpose only, which means that if you have the function in place, the shape of the product will follow itself. Um, I'm Probin, and I am a UX and UI designer at Geekians. I'm also working on a very cool project for Native Base. We're creating a design system, and we will be talking about atomic methodology today. Everything that revolves around atomic methodology and how we do it at Geekians and Native Base. We'll also be talking about why atomic design is a good idea, and we'll be walking through the Native Base project, which is our Figma file. And I'm sure people will like it because this is something internal that we do. So stick around and see what it actually is. Now to start off, we have a simple page. You might be wondering why I am showing you this page. It's basically a page from the time where the web was actually created, right? Around the 1990s. And Amazon was one of the first brand to being onboarded on a web platform. And if you look at this page, there was no design in particular as such. There's only like text, a plain text, or links, and then few pictures and shapes. But this doesn't add up to being a designer or having a design role in general. So as the time passed by, when the whole industry realized that they need designer, we were brought up to this design tools, which is Photoshop and Illustrator. And but the problem with these tools were the accuracy, because these tools will primarily made only for editing photos or making illustrations. We had to adopt Designers had to adopt a very quick phase that we got to work on only these tools. And these tools had a problem of accuracy, which means that anything that we design were not actually used by developers. They will actually look at a JPEG file or a PNG file, and they'll try to replicate it from Photoshop and develop it. But then later, when we look at the product itself, towards the end, when it's developed, we'll see that, oh, this is not how we wanted it to look like. So there's a problem of accuracy. This is when companies like this companies like old ones, Amazon and thing, they have tried creating uh, the websites like this, but then they were having lots of problem with colors. If you look at the color palette here, we have like shades of green, and the green were actually like three of them, which we did not want it at first place, right? So this was a problem. And this problem was later quick solved by having a style guide. The companies actually started using style guide, but this was restricted only to having it for your font or colors only, right? And then the another problem was the scalability. If you look at Photoshop, or if anyone is working on Photoshop, they'll have very less time, or they'll spend up using so much time using creating a single screen. And at this fast pace, which we want it to be, with the latest is when the apps have started developing like hundred of screen in their product, scalability was the problem. Later on, moving ahead of the time, there were products like SketchUp, Figma, and Adobe XD. This actually started making the interfaces been working easy. But the problem arises when we have like hundreds of screen now on responsive, including responsive devices. And then we have multiple designers working on the same project. And it's hard for everyone, to follow the same design. we spent up using so much time establishing standards and then quality checking everybody's work so that everybody is on the same page. That's when design pattern came in. Design pattern is where you use a certain elements from the page, and then if it's reusable, you just make it a pattern and then keep it. And companies actually started following design patterns, but the problem was that even if you want to have a style guide into it, even if you want to change something in that design pattern, you'll actually have to rework on the whole thing, which means that the element inside a design pattern, if it's an icon or a text, you'll actually have to work on the whole thing and not that particular pattern itself. So how do we get them together? How do we get them together to solve it? This is when design system come into place. Basically, design system is the building block to create a structure of the product. While there are numerous things which we should consider while building a design system, there's also a series of components that can be reused in different combinations. And then this makes so much sense. And this is where style guide stops, or it borders itself from a design system. In style guide, a designer would use the same basic element over and over again, consuming so much time. But today in design system, we can do that easily by just using the same component and having everything got out from its library. Well, design system itself is not a rule, but it's a way of solving problem. And atomic design is a way of creating or building a design system. So what actually does an atomic design mean? Atomic design was initially created by Brad Frost. He got inspired by the real world living, where an atoms create together to create another component or another building blocks. And atom is the basic layer of it. So if you see here, we have hydrogen oxygen, which is the basic block of all the matter, which combines together to create a molecule, and then it further moves up the hierarchy to create even more complex organisms or a form itself. Right? This was the whole concept of having an atomic design. But what does it actually mean in an interface design? What does it mean in our language? Brad Frost, the creator of atomic design, described it as atomic design as a methodology composed of 5 different stages working together to create an interface system in a more hierarchical manner. Right? So design system actually have 5 different stages, which has been broken down. And these 5 design elements are atoms, molecule, organism, templates, and pages. Well, this was initially created around 2011 or 12. Bradford later revised it, and then he added another elements to it, which is subatom. Now, to go through each of them, we'll try to understand what they consist of. To start off with subatom, we have the very basic elements of the whole design. We have colors, we have typography, we can have shadows, we can have spacing, and all the subatoms cannot be singly used in any page to create the whole product. It has to form together. The subatoms have to form together to create an atom. Atom, now if you look at it, it actually makes sense because it's taking a form now. We have things like the label, the icons, the button, and the text label, text field itself, right? But then if you look at this, if you just try to place this anyway, it wouldn't make sense because it has function, but then you just can't use it alone by itself. So we add this up to having a molecule. We add atoms and atoms and subatoms together, or even atoms and atoms together to create a molecule. And molecule can now have a better form. It can consist of a text field, a button, and an icon together to give it a more functionality. And now you could either place molecules anywhere on the page to make it more functional, or you can create molecules with another molecule to create an organism. Or an organism can also consist of having a molecule and an atom together to create a more, give it a better form. This organisms is also known as design pattern, and design pattern can be used, just pulled out and used anywhere on the page, like how we have seen with the BBC earlier. And we have on the higher hierarchy, we have templates and pages. Well, both of them fall in the same category. Just that templates are something which is not a final product. Basically, it contains just the layout and how the form will take place, but then it wouldn't have any content in it or any real form in it. And the last stage is the page. So pages are something where we have everything on place by using all the subatoms and the atomic design. Creating a design system or creating a design system with this methodology is not a linear process, by which I mean that you just can't go in the process right from the beginning. You say you want to create a page, you just can't start from the beginning with an atom and then think that, oh, if you go in a process, you'll reach to a conclusion where you have a page, right? But then what if you don't want that page to look like at that form in the first place? Then again you'll have to go back again and then recreate it, and again it'll start falling the same way, and that's not a practical way of doing it. Another problem with this is that as a designer will be blocked at certain point, thinking that, oh, this is how we do it, and then we'll restrict ourselves to having this creative thing happening. So what we do in our team is that we actually start with page, which is the highest hierarchy, where we try to lay out everything in a proper format, try to fit in the buttons, try to fit in the text fields or whatever components are required, and then go back to each subatomic level and then standardize it from there. Say suppose if you want a button to look like a brand color, so we'll try to put that on our page, and our page will have better understanding of how it will look like, and it makes more sense that way, right? And I would also want to talk about why atomic design is a good idea if you want to adopt it. Is because nowadays everyone in the industry has started following atomic design in general, and not only atomic design, but as a design system who wants to adopt having it in the company, atomic design is the best way of doing it. Firstly, because it reduces the amount of rework that a developer or a designer has to do. Basically, a designer or developer, if they want to do something, even before adopting the atomic methodology, they'll actually create each of these components one by one and then not reuse it. But if we have this, we don't have to rework it again. We can just pull it out from one of the library and form it together with the other sub elements. It's also easy for designers to design and manage the file very effectively. Also, by breaking it down in the whole process into atoms, molecule, and organism, sharing and updating the file in the future becomes hassle-free. It also helps in documenting the whole design component in a very clear way, which ultimately helps the team collaborate in a better. And then we can also focus on the other complexities. Right? I'll also like to walk you through the native-based design system which we are creating. Well, if you look at the layout here, we have subatoms, we have atoms, we have molecules, we have organism and pages. But for a native base, we are restricted to using only till organism because we are a product creating for other product, right? So pages is the ultimate goal which a user will want to look like. But we are someone who just creates this till organism to make life easier for the other companies or brands to create their pages. Right, to start with subatoms, we have colors where we have streamlined everything properly. We have primary colors, then we have alert colors, then we have other colors that we could use on our design system. Now, what will happen if you have this kind of system is that you not get confused with the number of colors which is available, like we have seen in the early point where we have set of different greens, and then where we were using hex code and then trying to figure out which hex code to use at what point. But if we have this thing in a streamlined way, we know what to use at what point. Then we have other things in subatoms like the text, the headers. Then we have shadows. Then we have border radius, spacings, and icons. And just to let you know that all the subatoms are basically the foundation of the design file that we maintain. And all of these elements goes in the style panel here. We have text style, we have color style, then we have shadows, and then we have the spacing, which can be just pulled out from here and then used out throughout the design. Right? And then if we go to atom level, we have things like button, which is again made of two different subatoms. We had icons and text used from there. We created this atom here at this level, and then we have different variations of atom depending on the function that we wanted. This is just the button. Then we have switches like this. Then we have labels like this. Then we have dividers and all this thing. Right? Now, if you go to molecule level, Molecules are basically made up of components which we have on atom and subatoms. Then there we have text field where we have used the text label, and then this is something that came up from atoms. So we have combined them together to create a full-fledged functional component now, right? And this again, depending on the states, we have designed everything in a format. You'll see in different sizes, and everything is in component form. So it can be just pulled out from here and then used throughout your design. Then we have checkboxes, select drop down, then form control text areas. Well, this is just an example of how and what it actually looks like on our design file. We actually go through much more processes than does this. Then we have organisms, which itself, if you want to place it anywhere on the screen, it sounds usable now. So suppose for this edit box, you can just put it as a layover on a page and then it's functional. Same with the alerts. Then we have popovers where we have used atoms. You can see button as something which is coming from atom level and then put it up on this level here and so on. Now, what I was talking about having not a linear process where we design the page in not linear is by having few samples like this. What we do is we create few samples where we have everything placed together. We have text field, then we have buttons, and this is where we decide on what or how we actually want our atoms or molecules to look like. Now, once we have this set, we go back to every single pages or every single elements and then change it from there, right? It's also very easy to have it in this format, because if I want to change something from subatomic level, it should reflect everything on the other components. So suppose I want to change the primary color. Um, this is the primary color palette that we have. So suppose if I want to change the primary color palette to say green, so I'll just copy any uh, text code, and then I'll go to the color palette here, and I'll just change it from here. Right, once it's changed, it will show change on all of my com- components here in every level. So we have changed it to green now. It's showing green. If we have used any component molecules, we'll change it there as well. So we have green color now instead of blue. This is blue was earlier. Now we have green color in here, and then it also changes in this particular section of the atomic level. So it changes on this one, and ultimately on the page, right? Because we have used this on the page. So this is how atomic methodology works, that everything is interlinked and interconnected to each other. Now, I'll just give you a tip on how, or a very simple small tip actually on how you can maintain this is by creating everything a component, even the smallest of the smallest element. Suppose this thing is an if this was not a component, it would be very hard for me to change it or use it from the library. If I have this, I can just go to library and then search for other icons that's available. And because everything is a component, I can just use one from there. It just changes directly. So this is how it's easy to maintain things and then to keep track of things as well. And everything, because everything is in a proper format, you know where to go and then what to pull out from where and just use it. Yeah, that's it from a time, and it's been great.
Well, it really has been great, Probin. Thank you so much for that simple yet elaborative look into atomic methodology for design systems. And of course, Native Base is great. The new version of Native Base has an amazing design system, and for you to help us understand that and walk us through that was an absolute treat. While the presentation was going on, we did not really get any questions from our speakers, so I guess we'll just probably move on to the next part of the show. But obviously, Probin, like with everybody else, I would love to have a chat with you again towards the end of the event. So stick
Oh, yeah.
around, and I'll see you again in a while.
Sure, yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks, that was Probin with his elaborate yet informative talk on atomic methodology on design systems. And with that, we have come to the last topic of the day, just to wrap up this entire conceptual journey that we have been on in design systems. Uh, And to close this up the right way, I would love to. I take great pleasure in introducing you guys to Tanisha Biswas, who is going to be talking about how you maintain a design system. And is Tanisha here with us? I can hear something. There she is.
Hi, am
Hi,
I audible?
you're clearly audible. How
Yeah,
are you doing today?
I'm doing good. At a tad bit nervous, but I think it'll be fine.
I think you'll do great. And I think the audio is obviously something that we've recently had a scare of.
Yeah,
So not to worry, you are pretty much audible, and if you're not, the viewers will let us know for sure.
sure.
As someone who carries aesthetics with her, Tanisha is a UX UI designer who is in pursuit of understanding how designs drive almost everything in the world. And I think you're probably the right person that I can sit with and talk about my philosophies in design, which solve a lot of different things. I do not know how you will take that, but she also claims to be one of those people who judges books by their covers, yet proceeds to read them.
I do not.
I
I won't be. I
knew.
mean, I will shamelessly accept it. I do not
I
read books.
Well, I stand corrected in that case. Uh, Anywho, so Tanisha, I'll just leave you with the viewers and take it away. All the best.
Sure. Yeah. I don't think there is anything for me to add on. I think Vijay has already introduced me, so I'll just jump in right with the topic that I'm going to talk about. I would be talking about maintaining a design system. I would start with a quote by Nathan Curtis where it says that a design system isn't a project, it's a product serving products. This quote generally tells us about the perspective or the approach we should be having while we approach or we come across a design system. And that's what I would be talking about. A company takes a lot of time to come to build their design system, and it is very unique to that company because of its product, because of its people, and so on. And it takes a lot of time to come up with a set of guiding principles, establish the foundation elements, and also come across the also design the UI patterns. But we still invest the time creating one because we know it's worth it, because at the end of the day, scalability, consistency in design and improved team collaboration are some things that make us realize ki, okay, it might take some while, but design systems are really worth their while. But many a times what happens is that even despite everyone's best intention, all the efforts that the product team makes in building a design system can just run down the drain. And most of the time it happens because we kind of lack in understanding the fact that the goal of a design system isn't just to guide the initial product development. It definitely smoothens the process, but it's not the only reason why we should have one. It's a useful resource to help you in managing and maintaining your product going forward. And that's the reason why we should also maintain, update, and involve our design system just like we do to our products. In this segment, we would be talking about three major topics, that is, how to approach a design system, how to promote and encourage usage, and how to communicate updates. Talking about the first thing about how to approach a design system, these are few points that we can just talk about. That is, embrace your complexity, encourage adoption, treat your design system like a design problem, prioritize dedicated resources. Now, a design team takes a lot of time to come across a design system, and it becomes very overwhelming for each and every one of us to just look at the design system when we are done. There are so many components, so many number of styles, and so many variants of one component. And it at times it becomes really overwhelming. Am I still connected?
Yeah, you are. Please continue.
Oh, sorry, there was some glitch from my end. Yeah. So it's really overwhelming to see the number of components that as a team we have built.
And fun fact about it is that the first wrap of native based V3 Figma components had just 29 components, but it had over 780 variants. And when we moved on with those components, these components did not even include the different states that we have for, like, for example, default, hover, pressed, or many more. And when we just have to talk about just one component, so for example, button, initially it had only 144 variants, and just as soon as we started looking at the different states of that one single component of a button, we ended up having 816 variants, which is much more than the existing number here itself. It's good that we did not have that calculation earlier, because otherwise the design team would be taking some anxiety issues. Moving forward, embracing your complexity is something that we need to work on. With the number of teams using a system, evolving a growing system is only natural. Try not to get overwhelmed by the number of components that you have, the combinations of style that you have, or the permutation of variants that you will have in a design system. uh, Once we are done with building a design system, the next most important thing is to encourage people to use that design system. It makes no sense if we have put so much of effort in building a design system, and at the end of the day we are still designing something from scratch. We need to use those components, we need to attach those styles and guidelines and follow what the design system already states. So encourage adoption is something that we really need to look into. A design system sets a new direction for an organization, and whether the organization accepts this direction will largely depend on how people react to the changes. Next thing is that when treat your design system like a design problem. We need to remind ourselves about the initial design processes would help us gain better understanding. We cannot lose track of our process and our priority that were already set. We need to remind ourselves about the goals that we decided earlier and treat it like a design problem. We Once we are done with the adoption, there would be multiple teams cross functioning on the same design system, and we need a dedicated resources and structure of people who would be working on the design system. If your design system is going to operate like a product, it needs a dedicated engineering, designing, and product management resources. Establish rituals and process that give your team tangible goals and focus. The next thing we would be talking about is how to promote and encourage the usage. We should never stop growing. That's one thing about the people say that design system kind of restrict the creativity of a person, but we need to understand that it's more about the governance and not the restriction. Everybody can be an initiator of change, speaking a common language and having an onboarding documentation. So let me tell you one thing. You will change your product. Your product will change. You will add new pages. You will change the color. You might even change the primary color later. You will add components. You will swap components. You will change the contents and everything. But whenever you do these changes, it should reflect back to your design system. And we need to understand that we should never stop growing. In order to make sweeping changes to your products and keep tabs on the latest guidelines, trends, components, and design patterns, our design system needs to be updated every now and then. And we can it's like our judicial system. We have a very structure, we have a foundation structure, but as the society grows, we need to update them. The next thing is that as a team, everybody should be an initiator. uh, Irrespective of what role you perform, if you are a part of the core design system team or not, if you come across any component or any such instance where you feel that there is a lack of a component, or you feel something can be improved, you should initiate a talk. um, here are some points which we can keep in mind while so that we can make sure that everybody is an equal contributor. And that's listen and always ask why. Voice your opinion irrespective of your role. Make designers and developers your on product teams the primary contributors, and define a change management process. The next thing is having a common language. Like, people have nicknames, I have four, but in design system it doesn't work like that. We need to speak a common language. Engineers and designers alike can work through a problem together only because they understand each other. We kind of need to, it's high time we kind of need to merge that gap between designers and developers. Like, for example, in our team, instead of referring a color shade with their hex code, we kind of try to use the token name. Like, for us, this is primary 400, and this just helps us to communicate better with anybody in the team. The next thing would be, like, as your team expands, people will join, and you need to have a proper documentation so that everybody is on the same page, including the newbies. So having an onboarding documentation is really important. Documenting the principles of your design system and how it fundamentally works for all who use it will pay off on the long run. The third thing is, how will you communicate your updates? This consolidation process can be broken down into few very small steps. Like I already mentioned, our goal is for everyone to take an initiative. Everybody should feel empowered to suggest or even ask questions for that fact. So basically, taking an initiative is the first step. The second would be exploring opportunities around the new proposal and such as improvements to solve it. We need to question and understand if like, did somebody miss a documentation? Do we already have that one thing, or does any other component solve this problem? So we need to explore opportunities and also discuss about the new solution that we can come up with. The next step would be discussion. The goal here is to understand different perspectives around the solution. Critiquing the proposal from multiple angles is necessary to strengthen the applicability. So, is it feasible in terms of design, in terms of code? If we do something like this, will it make some breaking changes or not? There needs to be such discussion for a clearer understanding. The next step would be updating, of course. Once the consolidation has proven successful, you can implement the change by renewing the components page in Figma and then updating the same in the code base. Once you're done updating, a proper documentation of the change log is really important. This type of record has its own format for various types of projects, but generally, it's useful showing which component has been changed, where the changes were made, why the changes were made, and who made these changes. So, just to sum up everything, here are the three takeaways that I could just say is: one, do not get overwhelmed with the complexity of design system. We have a lot of complexity in our lives. We don't want to add more. The second would be, do not restrict yourself to ask questions, irrespective of the fact that whoever you are, you don't have to think, I'm a designer, I shouldn't be asking something related to code. It's okay. Ask. There would be somebody, you might not understand 100%, but I think it would still add up to your skills that way. And the last point would be, allow your design system to grow. We don't want to be it like a restriction. If your design system grows with your product, I think the chances of creative restriction or freedom would be very low. I think that's all from me.
And that was wonderfully executed, Tanisha. Thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences and how you think design systems should be maintained. And what's important is to understand what actually comes out of putting in the efforts to maintain a design system. So I think you handled that pretty well, and let our viewers know as well what is important and what they need to really focus on. So I think while your presentation was obviously going on, we don't really have any questions for you from the viewers. So I think we'll just probably move on to the closing of the event. And I would love it if you stay here with me while I invite all of our other speakers and everybody else on stage with me as well.
Sure.
I hope we have everybody here. Rati is here. Hello again, Rati.
Hi.
Probin is here too. Megha is here too. I do not think Sanket will be joining us because I just received a message word that he will not. He's not around at the moment. So I think it's just us. But yes, viewers, folks, ladies and gents, I present to you our lineup for today. These amazing artists who have been working day and night to hone their skills and craft and have taken out this time to bring their knowledge and their information and their experiences to you guys, and have made this very first event that we have been doing for designs a successful one. So, a big round of applause to all of you guys. Thank you so much for taking out the time to uh, sit with us and share all of your knowledge. Of course, a huge thank you to all of our viewers who have been here with us since the past hour and 40-ish minutes, uh, and have been patient enough to listen to what our speakers had to share with you guys. And we, of course, collectively hope that this session has been informative. It's probably, hopefully, it is. You have learned something in this hour and a half, and hopefully, you've got the motivation to try out new things and try out new design systems and all the methodologies that we talked about today. Of course, it goes without saying that a lot of credit also goes to the team that has been working in the back end tirelessly to make this entire thing happen. Obviously, Rishabh, Bhushan, Maheshwari, Shweta, all of you guys have been wonderful, and you guys are the reason why this event has been so successful and so smooth. Uh, Rather, so thank you guys. Thank you for that. A big round of applause for them too. And I think to close this thing off, I would like to say that, of course, this is the first design event meetup that we have done. There are many more to come. This is a new community that we are trying to build from our end, and it was amazing for you guys to be a part of this and give us the hope that we are succeeding in doing what we really want to do, which is just bring you all of you guys together and talk about this. So, speakers, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with the viewers? A final word, a final anything that you'd like to talk to these guys? Wait, is everybody frozen? Please don't be.
Thank you, everybody. Your questions, your interactive comments really made us feel a friendly environment, and we were really comfortable throughout the presentation. I am really loving this appreciation, and thanks for being so patient with us.
Well, wonderfully said, Rati. Thank you so much for that. And I also see that it's reciprocated by our viewers as well. A lot of praise coming all of your guys' way. So on that note, of course, be kind to each other. Uh, be well, take care of yourselves, and of course we will see you again in the next design meetup or whatever is up next, but you will see us again, of course. And on that note, thank you guys, thank you so much for taking out the time to be here with us, and thank you to all the viewers on YouTube and all the different platforms that you have joined us on, and we will all see you next time for sure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.